Hey folks, how the hell are ya?
What is up, everybody? We hope you guys like the new Halloween intro. It's specifically for the month of October.
October.
October. Anyway, it was really fun. We wanted to use more of our intro song, so we decided to give it a little flair, make it a little more spooky. So the intro will only be lasting for this month. I think you guys have already heard it on a couple episodes, which is fine, but and then we'll be getting back to the old. Anyway, but yeah, so we are in October. This is actually the first episode that we are recording in October.
Yeah.
Which is really, really exciting. So we are so excited to just pump out a shit ton of fucking content.
Yes.
Literally so much.
All the content
so
for your ears. I might just throw up.
Because she's hungover.
Oh, yes. I am slightly hungover. It was a rough night. Not really a rough night. A good night. It was a fun night. But this morning has not been fun.
Right. She had a wedding, an out-of-town wedding even, so.
Yeah. It's been a time.
And she was out getting fucking wasted.
Unplanned wasted.
And I was sitting here chilling with Leo. Me and Leo were just, watching some scary movies.
Limping
and
Leo.
Yeah, it was a fun time. Poor dude. Yeah, hopefully his foot will get better.
Hopefully we can get him figured out.
Yeah, but aside from that, we don't really have any sort of news.
Nope.
No news. So I think we're gonna go ahead and jump right into the story.
Let's do it.
So excited! Our first October crime.
Yes. Crime.
Yeah. So I'm really excited. So today we are going through the tale, if you will, because boy, it's wild.
Oh boy.
Of Belle Gunness, also known as the Black Widow of Porte, also known as Hell's Belle, also known as the Indiana Ogress.
Wow.
She got lots of names.
Homegirl's got tons of names there.
She did a lot of shit to get those names.
Unlike the episodes that I get to record, I never know what you're gonna bring to me, so I'm pretty pumped to hear about the, what is it, Black Widow?
The Black Widow of Porte.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So this is an Indiana serial killer, so a neighboring serial killer.
Okay.
So, and she was a wild time. Well, like, she's a trip. This is a lot. We're going through a lot. But this is the oldest case that I have done. So we're actually going to take it to November 11th, 1859.
1859. You never do old cases, so I'm really excited for this one.
I know, I think the oldest I've done's been like the 70s, 80s. So, but this is just for her birth. So we're only going back that far for her birth. But we talk about it. We don't get like very far.
Into the 1900s?
Right.
Okay.
And then we jump to the 2000s randomly. So it's fine.
Weird,
So,
but I see you.
so Belle Gunness, whose birth name was, ready for this one? I'm doing my best here. Please don't attack me. Brynhild Paulsthetter Storseth. So that's a name, but we get a name change. So we're Belle. That's where we're sitting at, which I can definitely pronounce substantially easier. That's also not the only name that's giving me some trouble, so please bear with me.
Us.
Belle Gunness was born November 11th, 1859 in Selbu, Norway.
Okay.
Selbu. I looked it up. I looked up all these names. It's the remembering how they're pronounced after I looked them up. So
it's a lot.
Yeah. Her parents' names are Paul and Berit Storseth.
I really like the name Berit.
Yeah, it looks
Berit?
like... Well, it almost looks like it's Berit. It almost looks like beret for
Beret,
us because,
yeah.
Like, it's not Bray, but like, that's what I thought when I first saw it.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up. And so, Brit.
Burrito.
It's like Brit. Like, hey, Brit. Hey, Brit.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm into it. She was actually the youngest kid and had 7 older siblings.
Whoa.
Can't
big,
relate.
Big family.
I'm the oldest with like 7 younger siblings, so.
The
Except
complete opposite.
there's like actually 12 or 13 siblings at this point, so. Life wasn't always the easiest for her and her family. They actually suffered from some pretty bad financial hardships as she was growing up, which probably caused a lot of the reason why she idolized a wealthy lifestyle. Like, it was something that she wanted. She knew. She was like, I will live wealthy.
Me too, girl. Me too.
I mean, don't we all? She began working at the age of 14 on a farm as a milkmaid with the hopes that she would actually be able to join her sister who had already immigrated to America.
Gotcha. A milkmaid, you said?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Just milking the cows.
Milking.
Milking the cows.
Milking the
She
cows.
also did like some herding too. So like she would herd some cows and milk some cows and
Herding like with dogs? Or just herding,
Her,
like
I
running
guess.
around herding
I
the
don't.
cows.
There wasn't a job description from her job that she
Job
had
description.
when she was 14 in the 1800s.
Yeah.
So it's up for interpretation, I guess.
All right. So she was running around herding the cows.
Probably just
Booking it.
14-year-old Belle chucking along, which we'll get into it, but a lot of people talk about like her physique a lot. Like, it's mentioned in the story.
Like she has
A couple times.
a good physique.
We'll talk about it.
Okay, all right.
She's got a particular physique. In 1881, she was able to finally immigrate to New York, where she was processed, and then she changed her name to Belle. Thank you, Belle.
Thank you, Belle.
It's a lot easier. From there, she moved to Chicago, Illinois. And while she was in Chicago, she actually lived with her sister, Nellie, and Nellie's husband. She worked for a small stint as a house servant, but then eventually became employed at a butcher shop. While she was in Chicago, she ended up meeting a man named Mads Sorensen, and they ended up getting married in 1884. They actually suffered from a lot of tragedy while they were together. They ended up opening a candy store one day, but it ended up burning down shortly after they opened it. Their house ended up burning down in 1900, and 2 of their 4 kids ended up dying of acute colitis.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Bad luck.
It was a lot. July 30th, 1900, Mads ended up suffering from a cerebral hemorrhage and died as well.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, it is worth noting a few things about these tragedies. With both of the fires and the death of their children, Belle and Mads had received insurance payouts. Acute colitis, which is what killed their children, also has symptoms that are scarily similar to poisoning.
Oh.
Also, too, Mads had seemed to have maybe been switching insurance policies around the time that he died, because the last day of his old policy and the first day of his new policy were the same day.
Sounds a little sus to me.
I would have to agree. Mads ended up dying on the day that they shared the date, and Belle received not 1 insurance payout, but 2 insurance payouts from both policies. So she ended up getting two payouts, which in today's money equated to somewhere around $150,000.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So there's some suspicious activity.
It's always about the insurance.
Right. It is occurring. We're seeing it. Now, because she obviously made her way out with a buku amount of money, she ended up using all of this life insurance policy. She packed up her daughters, Myrtle and Lucy, and her foster daughter, who is also her niece, Jenny. We're not really sure how that situation is about, but she was the foster child. Jenny Olsen was the foster child of Belle, and it does say that it was her niece. So
Okay.
they all ended up moving onto a 48-acre farm that Belle was able to buy in LaPorte, Indiana.
Okay.
This is where we live now. Which in this, it also said that Indiana was part of the Midwest, and I guess, like, yeah, it is, but, like, it just never registered in my mind that it was part of the Midwest.
It doesn't sound right.
Right, like, it makes sense, but it doesn't sound right. Just because it's literally, like, right north of us.
Mm-hmm.
In April of 1902, she remarried a man named Peter Gunness, which is how we got the last name.
There's the last
There
name.
it is. Crazy enough, tragedy started to strike again.
Oh boy.
It's
Wonder
almost
why.
like clockwork. Peter had actually had a baby from a previous marriage that ended up just dying suddenly,
Oh.
while Peter was not at home. Yes, of course. Peter himself had also died shortly following his daughter after a sausage grinder fell off an unstable shelf and smashed him in the head.
Wow, how unfortunate.
I would say convenient. Just a lot of deaths that just
Surround her.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a coincidence to me. Now, of course, Belle was able to collect the payout from his life insurance policy, and this life insurance policy equated somewhere around 90 grand today.
She's making the big bucks.
She's getting the money. She is getting the money. So Belle's foster daughter, Jenny Olson, who was somewhere between 16 and 18, went to school and ended up telling a classmate, quote, "My mama killed my papa.
Oh.
She'd hit him with a meat cleaver and he died. Don't you tell a soul." Soon after, no one had seen Jenny.
Oh.
But Belle claimed that Jenny was sent off to a school to finish her education in California.
I'm sure she was.
Well, it turns out that Belle was probably eager for more money, so she ended up putting a marriage ad out in a Norwegian-based newspaper. And this is what it read. "Comely widow who owns a large farm in one of the finest districts of LaPorte County, Indiana, desires to make the acquaintance of a gentleman who equally well provided. With view of joining fortunes, no reply by letter considered unless sender is willing to follow answer with personal visit. Triflers need not apply."
Triflers.
Like, come here, give me all your money. But don't be trifling me, honey.
As long as you have money, come here and
Right.
see me.
And I just thought it was so funny that at that time they would have used the word trifler.
Trifler.
But, like, to actually see it, I just love that line. Triflers need not apply. That's going on probably every single dating bio that I have going forward.
Every single one. Triflers
Need not apply.
need not apply.
Now, she knew that if she targeted lonely men, specifically lonely men who were Norwegian, and it kind of created, like, a family situation for them, like it made them feel like at home, it would be easy for her to seduce them and acquire their money. So that's what she did. In 1905, a farmhand from Wisconsin made contact with Belle over the marriage ad. Henry Gerholt made his way to go meet Belle. Once he got there, wrote his family letting them know that he was healthy and that the farm was a very, pleasant place to live at. Eventually, he stopped contacting his family, and as family would do, they grew worried.
Right.
They ended up getting in touch with Belle, who simply said that Henry had left with horse traders heading to Chicago.
A coinky dink?
I think not.
I think not.
Now, one man actually ended up managing to leave
Oh.
and talk about it, and this was George Anderson. And Anderson said that he had actually woken up the first night that he was there to find Belle standing over him with a menacing look, so he got the fuck right out.
Yep.
He was like, "I'm done."
He said, "I'm out."
Yeah, he skedaddled.
Yeah. Like
Good
me.
on him.
I'm out. I'm a head out.
Right. Now, Belle basically began to start receiving visitors almost like weekly, like every week, every other week.
Like men?
Yeah.
Oh.
They would show up to her farm with like handfuls of money or checks, and then they would just simply vanish. And the neighbors stated that they actually started seeing her spend a lot of her time in her hog pens, especially at night. And she also started spending a lot of her money on like crates. Like she was buying like wooden crates.
Weird.
A little suspicious.
We all know what pigs and hogs do.
Well, we're going to talk about this.
All right.
And I said that we would talk about like her physique and how she was built. She was she was like a pretty big woman.
Okay.
She was like 5'9", 5'10", and she weighed like 200 pounds, and she was like fit. Like
Very
she
fit.
yeah.
She'd be like a little bit taller than me.
Right. Her neighbors talked about like how they watched her pick up like a 400 pound piano by herself and take it into the house. And she said, "I love live music in my home." And then when they were talking about the crates, they had said she was getting a bunch of wooden crates and she was throwing them around like a box of marshmallows. Is what they said. So like they talk about that a lot. Like
Love that.
her size
Yeah.
and I don't think it's like really a mean way. It just seems like they're like impressed, like
She's very strong.
she's like just chugging this around like her brute strength.
like the sister on Encanto. What is her
Louisa.
name? Louisa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the strong one. She's not nervous. Belle actually had a farmhand named Ray Lamphere, whom she had a secret relationship with. Ray was in love with Belle.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah, obsessed. Loved her so much. And she just kind of felt like Ray wasn't going to be able to provide, the lifestyle and the happiness that she wanted. She had a particular life that she wanted because she's awful.
And he didn't have enough money for her.
Correct. Basically that. She was shallow. After seeing the countless men coming and going, he finally left in, a jealous fit of rage. Which, I get.
Yeah.
She was probably playing with his emotions. Now, we are going to get to the last man that we know of that Belle ended up having over.
Oh, boy.
And his name was Andrew Hegelian. In 1908, Andrew showed up to the farm with a check for $2,900 from his savings, which we talked about earlier, sitting around 85-90 grand.
Wow.
And then, like clockwork, soon after he ended up arriving there, he just disappeared. Andrew's brother, Asley, began to worry. He was basically just demanding answers from Belle, hey, what is going on? Messaging, just like it's happened before.
Right.
But he was persistent, yeah. Now, she kept telling him, oh, I don't know where Andrew is. Maybe he went to Chicago. We've heard that before. Maybe he went back to Norway, even. Asley just did not buy any of this, did not believe anything that was coming out of her mouth.
As he shouldn't.
Correct. Belle ended up visiting an attorney on April 27th, 1908, and she stated actually that Ray Lamphere was making threats on her life and that she needed to go ahead and start a will. She told the attorney that she actually feared that he would burn her house to the ground. So after that meeting with the attorney, she ended up leaving. She got a couple of gallons of kerosene, some toys for her kids, and she went home. And that night, her farmhouse was set on fire. During the investigation of the fire, the bodies of Belle's children were found in the basement of the farmhouse.
Oh.
And they actually thought that maybe they were upstairs in the second story sleeping in their beds and fell through. But then upon the investigation, they realized that the piano from the first story was on top of their remains, which means they were put into the basement when this house was set on fire.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, along with the remains of Belle's children, they actually also found the headless body of a woman downstairs that authorities believed to be Belle.
What?
Now, she was headless, so there wasn't really able, they weren't able to look at the head and be like, oh, that's Belle, but...
The stature of her, though? She had a very unique stature, right?
We're going to talk about it, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So, they believed it to be Belle, and police then went and found Ray, and they charged him with the murder of the family along with the arson.
Ooh.
Yes, because she was saying, Ray's gonna try to get me. And Ray was pissed. Ray was jealous. He was not, excited about this. So Asley, which is Andrew's brother, heard of the fire and immediately headed to the farm and assisted the police on the scene, which I was like, he's so worried about his brother.
Yeah. A concerned bro.
Yeah. They searched an area of land that Belle had actually claimed was for burying her trash out there, casually.
Cash.
Yes. When they went through and they dug up that area to see what was there, they found 11 sacks filled with dismembered body parts.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And some of those bodies ended up including Andrew Hegelian, as well as her niece, Jenny Olson.
Oh no.
Yeah. So they did find both of their bodies, along with a lot of other bodies.
Oh no.
We'll get into the numbers because the numbers vary, but let's just know that they go from a lot to a lot more.
A lot to a lot, okay.
Yeah. It was suspected at this point that the decapitated body was probably not Belle Gunness, as she was 5'9" and around 200 pounds, and the body was only 5'3" and 75 to 100 pounds.
Oh, there's the stature.
Yep. Now, Ray ended up only being charged with the arson because they found a bunch of bodies and they were like, oh, she's probably a stone cold killer.
Yeah.
Because she was.
She wild.
And then he was put in prison. During this time, he remained adamant that he never heard of or saw her commit any murders. There were no murders that he was aware of.
Weird.
When he got older, he was about to pass, and he ended up making a deathbed confession. In his confession, he stated that he had actually helped Belle kill 40 to 42 people. Men.
What?
She would poison their drinks, beat them over the head, dismember their bodies by removing arms, legs, feet, and heads, sometimes even feeding parts of them to her pigs.
I knew they'd come back.
Uh-huh. And then he said after she was done all that he would do the planting.
Man, this man really loved her.
Yeah. He claimed that the decapitated woman that they had found on the scene of the house fire was actually a housekeeper that she had hired and was planning her runaway. So she had hired this housekeeper to keep everything going, I guess.
Yeah.
And she was going to try to get away. And then once the suspicion started happening, she was like, no, we gotta
get her out of here.
Yeah. And that was everything that he said about it. I mean, he hit all the marks. He talked about like what happened to the bodies, how many people that he knows of, all of this. So based on the remains that they found, they were able to conclude at least 14. Based on his confession, that could have been up to about 40 or 42.
Oh my goodness.
So anywhere between 14 to 42 people. And that's not counting, we don't know if she poisoned her kids that died at the beginning.
Right.
We don't know if her husband actually died from that hemorrhage that like naturally, or if she did something to cause that. We won't really ever know the numbers that she actually committed.
Wow.
Yes. Now, I do want to bring this up to the future, up into more present times, because even if I'm going to do a past so far back, I am going to touch base in the future. In 2008, they attempted to compare the DNA found on a letter that Belle had sent to one of her victims to the DNA of the decapitated corpse. Because it was aged so severely and so badly, the test came back as inconclusive. So as far as we know, she died that night, and that is what essentially ended up being what was ruled, is that she died that night.
But the stature was not correct.
Correct.
So she was just out here running around.
Now, the reason that they said that is because there was a dentist who said, if you could find the head or any part of the teeth, I can tell you if that was her or not. And they said that they found something like 2 porcelain teeth. It varies based on the research, but what I saw was at least like 1 or 2 porcelain teeth to look at some of the dental work. And the dentist said, yeah, I did that to her. Like, that was my work. So it had to have been her. Because 2 porcelain teeth is apparently more credible than the fact that the body was a half a foot shorter and half the weight.
Nowhere near what size she was.
I do understand, like, bodies sometimes shrink and fire and stuff like that. But not to half their size.
Yeah.
That's intense.
I can't compute.
I think she ran away. I think that she probably killed more.
And she just disappeared.
Right.
Because that's what I was going to ask you. While you were telling him, like, making his deathbed confession, I was going to ask you, well, where was she?
Correct.
Where was she?
We don't know.
Oh my goodness.
So that's kind of the thing. A lot of people, they just have a lot of questions because they're like, okay, so did Ray start the fire? Did Ray kill everybody in a fit of rage? Because he could have.
Right.
I mean, that could be an option here.
Which technically he would have got away with it if he did.
Right.
Because he was only charged with arson.
But I mean, one way or another, she also killed a shit ton of people, and they found, like...
Right.
So if he did that, like, shitty that he killed the kids, but he did get her, but still shitty that he killed the kids.
But I mean, she also could have done all of it.
She could have done every bit of it. So we don't know.
My mind.
It just ends like that. That's just, we're done. Yeah.
My mind can't compute.
I know.
I don't like it.
That's why I did it, because it was so much, like, fucked up shit that she did. And it was just, like, everything incriminating her. Like, there was no way that nobody knew. And then at the end, we're just like, okay, we're done here. Like, yeah. And I wanted you to be as fucked up about it as I am.
I'm not live, laugh, loving for it.
At all.
At all.
What is happening? How did we get to this point? We even pulled up more DNA in 2008, and now we're just 100 years later. 100 years after the crime committed, we pulled up DNA, and nothing happened because, I mean, DNA can't be perfect all the time. I get that. I think that she at least killed the 14 for sure.
She would have had to have, because he wasn't there, or he was there, but he was, I don't know.
He was the one doing the planting.
I'm so confused.
But I think that she probably killed upwards to the 42.
Yeah.
And that's us not knowing everything else, because when you look into the research and kind of go through some of this stuff, it even talks about how there was one point where she had kids. She had like 4 kids, and they don't remember, like, people don't remember seeing her pregnant that many times.
What?
They were like, where did these kids come from?
Gathering kids from
just
the people she killed.
infant babies.
Yep.
I don't know.
Babies?
Yeah.
Oh.
The 2 that died from the colitis were babies.
Okay.
And she received insurance money on all that.
Whoa.
So, like, some people even speculate that maybe she was, like, kidnapping babies.
I'm too hungover for this.
She looks in complete, like, panic and dismay.
I don't understand.
Right. So, I don't want to say that she was kidnapping babies. Actually, I just don't give a fuck because she's been dead forever. Or she hasn't. This was over 100 years ago, and she was an awful human.
Well, no, one way or the other, she's got to be dead now. That's too
right. Yeah, she's definitely dead now, but it's one of those things where it's like she could have. I mean, she was potentially getting babies some way that was not hers.
So she could have been killing even more.
Yeah, filing insurance claims on them, or like getting life insurance on them, and then collecting insurance claims on infants. You were telling me nobody was like, this girl has been really cashing in on some insurance.
Cashing in.
Like, based on today, that is like, she probably made like $1 million on insurance alone. This was the crime and the reason.
The crime and the reason. Yes.
This was the reason for the crime.
Was going on here.
Yeah. Like, and it's so wild because, like I said, I mean, the story wasn't long. But she did so much. I literally got to the end and I was like, and that's it. And you looked.
What?
Like, yeah.
Like that meme. What is it?
What? Right. You felt like we were going to get a part 2 because there was so much, and we didn't even get like the second part of part 1.
We got a 2-parter, but it's not a 2-parter.
It's only a half-parter. We got a half a part.
But no more 2 parts are coming out.
We got a half part of an episode. I mean, it's fucking wild, dude.
I'm irritated.
Yeah, me too. Belle, you are something.
Something else.
We have really been talking about some intense women lately.
Yeah, we have.
And I was talking to Kaylin, and I was sending her messages, and I was like, listen, I don't know why the fuck Lizzie Borden is so famous when this woman exists.
When she exists.
Right. I'm like, why I didn't know about her until I started looking up for, I was like, I want to do like a case for October. And I was like, well, I'm doing a lot of cases for October, but like for this one, when I was looking, I was specifically wanting something that was like out there, that was like wild and just like a lot of shit, know, and that like, that I could talk about that wasn't really well known.
One that may have been unorthodox.
And that's the one. But yeah, so I was just looking for something that like I hadn't heard about, maybe you guys hadn't heard about, just something that was, out there that I felt would go well with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with it being in Halloween and we don't even know if she died at that time or went on the run and did more, it's, to me that still feels, I guess technically it's solved, but it feels pretty unsolved to me.
Mm-hmm.
Feels
this was a
like
crazy
mystery.
one.
Yeah. So, and I loved it. I was so excited the whole time that I was researching it because I was just like ready to see what the next thing that she did was. I was just like,
right, tell me more.
Yeah.
Tell me that something happened here.
I wish we knew more of what she did.
Yeah. So, I need more.
But yeah, no, that's the it. That's the it of it.
The it of it.
Yeah, not the end. That's the it of it.
Mm.
So,
unsatisfied is how I'm feeling. Before you ask.
Right. Yeah, no, it's but no, it was a fun short case to research, and I had a lot of fun with it and was really excited to tell you about it. So,
well, thanks for
ruining your life,
unsatisfying me.
But yeah, no, aside from that, that will be it for today, but not it for the month, because it is spooky and it is scary and it is fabulous.
Fabulous.
But we got so much more shit. We're about to start swinging at you. Swinging. Just a swinging.
We are one.
With Earth.
That too.
And country music.
Yep.
But aside from that, make sure that you check out all of our social medias at CrimeOrReason.
Hit us up on Gmail at crimeorreason@gmail.com.
Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/CrimeOrReason.
Also, leave us a rate and review. Let us know how we're doing.
Please.
We love you guys. Apart from that, we hope that you stay safe.
Stay healthy.
And stay
criminal. Bye, guys.
Bye.